Good evening. It is now 9:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the East Coast. I'm your host for the Get It Back in Blood podcast, Miss Kaj Taylor, aka Miss Go. Alright, so we got to 100 episodes of me ranting and sharing information. This is the Get It Back in Blood podcast continue. Thank you for listening. Thank you for liking the podcast. Thank you for sharing the podcast. Please continue to share with as many people as you possibly can the podcast. So the topic I want to discuss today is I want to travel back and elaborate more on the HIV/AIDS outbreak plaguing the U.S. There are factors here I want to go over in regards to children and the stigma on HIV/AIDS and children. Stigma is something, it is a belief system placed on a person's circumstance to get a negative outcome or interpretation from. This state saw 15,000 new cases of HIV/AIDS. It is measured demographically through groups, through data, through testing. But those people had to go into the doctor's office in order to get tested, in order to know and find out. So these are not the parents that I would consider to be trifling. I wouldn't consider these parents to be trifling because 200 young children of the 15,000 people that were infected with HIV/AIDS in my state of South Carolina, they were children. 200 of those were children. Okay. There is not many studies or cases, on HIV in children. But we know the effects on a child may be different from those on an adult. Let me tell you how HIV/AIDS, let me start out with the classic transmission ways that HIV/AIDS. Let me specify something to you in what I said. There were 15,000 people newly diagnosed with HIV/AIDS in the state of South Carolina. 200 of the new cases were children already born. I'm going to say that again for you. 15,000 new cases of HIV/AIDS in the state of South Carolina. And 200 of those new cases of HIV were children already born. We can speculate on how these children acquired the human immunovirus. We can speculate that, and we know it's going to make us angry, but it's not going to change how the people feel that have acquired the human immunovirus. HIV is the virus that causes AIDS. Once again, that is the human immunovirus. Okay? It is the virus that causes AIDS. And 200 children in the state of South Carolina acquired a sexually deadly transmitted disease. All right, let's go over the textbook ways of getting that. All right. In order for one to acquire the human immunovirus, one would have to be sharing needles, meaning dirty needles. Dirty needles mean used needles with the blood of a person who has AIDS or HIV. Sexually transmitted intercourse and oral. Please don't tell me the niggas after me is the motherfuckers talking about you can't get shit from getting your dick sucked. Please don't tell me that niggas ain't out this motherfucker over these airwaves and they the type of niggas talking about you can't get shit from getting your dick sucked. HIV/AIDS can be transferred through oral sex, anal sex, and regular sexual intercourse. Okay. AIDS can also be transferred through body fluids, i.e. sexually transmitted. Body fluid, blood, saliva, semen. Right? Saliva can carry the virus and transmit the virus into the mucous membrane of the other individual. Okay? All right. How do you counsel children about one, being affected by the human immunovirus, and how do you educate their peers on their classmate, their brother, their cousin, their friend? How do you counsel children on accepting the HIV virus has happened in their community? Children is a community. The child community, that's a community. Now, that's a little community of the little people. How do you educate them to not be mean if they do find out that another child has the HIV virus? How do we teach them to remain safe? Some kids are very good at that. Being nice. But teach them that you can be nice. We used to have little blood packs and all that stuff. We can't do that. Yes. That's what I'm saying. How do you teach the children? Because he might get sick. I might have something that'll make him sick. So I don't want to, we can't do the blood pack. We're blood brothers, just, stuff like that we used to do, Adults are very ignorant when it comes to the HIV/AIDS. They choose to be ignorant when they want to be ignorant. The problem is getting children to not be as ignorant as adults when it comes to other little children who acquire or who are even born with the human immunovirus. All right. I explained somewhere else on another platform the difference between the human immunovirus and the autoimmunodeficiency syndrome. Autoimmunodeficiency syndrome. AIDS. When studies came out back in the 80s, and I may have to carry this on to another segment of the podcast, we here at the Child Civil Rights Movement, I don't have people that work for me that need to be seen or need to be heard because for fear for their safety. It's about their safety. Yeah, so, if they work for me or they work with me, I would be keeping them safely under wraps as much as I possibly can. But I'm not one of those people that can understand a child acquiring a sexually transmitted disease. I don't have a clear understanding of what the fuck you mean sexually transmitted. I have a few scenarios I'm going to run through on the next podcast. I don't have enough time at the moment, but I want you to think about HIV, AIDS, and the stigma in the community of children that we have here in the U.S. Okay? Understand that the way that a parent would get their child to understand their condition is not how you would necessarily teach your child about the condition. But you must respect how that parent does that, but that parent has to make sure that they told them a safe thing. All right? So, I don't have much time on this episode, but I'll get back into it. But explaining to you the difference between lupus and AIDS. Both of them are absolutely terrible. Both of them could actually cause terrible effects on your body because an autoimmune disease is the body fighting against itself and all of its life-saving abilities, natural ability. Okay, so lupus is not sexually transmitted. Lupus is more than likely hereditary, and not everybody has the same symptoms. For all lupus cases. All right. AIDS is the same thing. It's just that virus entered your body from some foreign entity. It could be really bad both ways with lupus. If going untreated, but a lot of people were going through terrible things before they discovered lupus. Is now getting a label and being accepted, as a medical condition. Not when a lot of people didn't really know about such things. Lupus was kind of like all these different issues. They keep taking people and take you into testing over and over again, and documenting symptoms, finding any kind of similarities in these cases here, different, and then boom, lupus. Okay, an autoimmune disease, very serious, as serious as AIDS, yes, but it's not entered through a foreign object in your body that we know of yet. I always leave room for that margin of error because they couldn't identify it for so long. For a long time, they could not tell you what was wrong with you, I have about 30 seconds. I'll be back with a part 2. I'm Miss Go, aka Miss Carge Taylor, for the Get It Back in Blood podcast.